Shalom and welcome. So we are back in the Proverbs 31 study and we are on verse 11. So join me while we jump straight into it, and thank you for all the ladies that have joined the last few weeks. It really has been nice just to get to know everyone, and I look forward to hearing how you have just gone through all the questions and how you can implement that you are busy learning. So anyone that is hearing this at a later stage, if you'd like to join and hear how the other ladies have shared their experiences, please just send a message or a comment on this video. So we are in verse 11. And if we read verse 11, it says, "The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil." So a heart is basically just a person's emotions, appetites, your way of thinking, reflection. It's the being of the person. That is what a heart is. And to safely trust means to betach, which is to take refuge, to trust, to be confident, to be bold, to be sure of someone, to put your confidence in someone. So I've given verses there at the bottom that you can go and see some examples of it as well. Now let's just delve into, like I've said, we using this as a base from Robin Luton, and so I'll just be quoting a lot of her page, the book's pages. But if you would like to source it, you are welcome to go and read it, because there's a wealth of information from it. But I wanted to bring in a lot more of the biblical research into it and use this as a supplement to color in the study. So if we go to anyone who's got the book, you can go to page 29. And it says here, take a deep breath and ask yourself an honest question. Does your husband's heart feel safe with you? Does he trust you with the things that are buried deep within? Men do not open their souls to others easily, as masculinity, by definition, tends towards soul modesty. We typically assume a quiet and private man is one with dark secrets, or is too shallow to have feelings, or is too selfish to connect to his own wife, or that he would rather wound her by withholding his thoughts. It is possible that the quiet man took a risk in the past and regrets opening his heart. Maybe what he shared was not received with loving kindness and was not discreetly protected. You may be thinking that doesn't apply to you because you are single, but it does. Consider the words of Solomon. The upright are in his confidence. Have you made your heart a safe place for Jehovah to share his secrets with you? Do you assume he speaks to others instead because he loves them more? We know that the secrets of Jehovah is for those who fear him. That is from Proverbs 3:32. Hence we must each ask ourselves, am I in God's confidence? Can his heart trust in me? If your answer is no, then join those of us who desire to become Jehovah's confidant. Do we stop to listen and wait before our Creator to hear what he would say? Are we holding his sacred and eternal word close to our hearts, pondering and absorbing his truth and listening for his voice? Do I betray him by spilling out what he does share in such a way that diminishes his character? I grew up hearing that good girls don't swear, and that we mustn't use Jehovah's name in a careless and profane manner. This is, of course, good advice. An insightful teacher shared his interpretation of the commandment not to take the Lord's name in vain. He explained that those who refer to God as Lord but proceed to speak and behave in ways that misrepresent him are taking his name in vain. The teacher stressed that God's name is profaned every time a child of his breaks his commandments. If we claim to be his, we are responsible not to misinterpret and distort the things he has spoken to us. The ultimate betrayal of trust in a marriage is to seek intimacy with someone other than a spouse. She goes further on to say, God's name is more than a mere handful of letters. In Hebraic thought, a name represents a person's character, reputation, attributes, and accomplishments. The same is true of Yahweh's name. But throughout history, as well as in our individual stories, God's name has been misrepresented, distorted, and maligned. Still, he chooses to love us. He desires to commune with his bride. He especially confides in those whose humble souls invite such intimacy. Another significant way a husband is able to entrust his heart to his bride is illustrated in the beautiful metaphor in Songs of Solomon. There we find the bridegroom strolling through the vineyard with his beloved, and he tells her to catch the little foxes for us, the little foxes that ruin the vineyard. The cryptic request has been interpreted in various ways, but one explanation is that he trusts her to be vigilant and sensitive to anything that could dig at the roots and ruin the fruit of their vineyard, their intimacy. He knows that even while he is far away, she will carry on and protect the life they have built together. She is secure enough to release him to go seek out what is necessary to add to the resources of their shared life. The bridegroom recognizes that his bride possesses unique sensitivity and discernment required to recognize the subtle enemies of their marriage. Foxes were known to secretly dig at the roots of the vines, which would only become evident when the fruit began to wither and the vines to dry up. A faithful bride guards the intimacy of her marriage relationship and senses potentially destructive forces. Her husband trusts in her to chase away the predators and, if necessary, to warn him of their presence. Because of his trust in her, he expresses a longing to her voice. Our craving to be seen and heard by both our physical and our spiritual husband will not be quenched by nagging and whining. The connection we long for is satisfied when we are faithful, true, discreet, and devoted to our beloved. So we see that the word need is to lack, to be without, to be lacking or have a need. And we also see that the word spoil is the word shahol, which means booty or prey. Now, a booty is something that people take out after war, and it's actually a war, a universal law that has been brought in or was put in place years ago. And we see that Father even said that when you go in, you go and you can take everything. There were times where they had to burn everything, and there were times where they were allowed to take the spoils of war. And it's taking something that was earned through warfare. So it's taking someone else's stuff. So we also see that the word wisdom and safety is something that the husband wants from his wife. So Proverbs 12:4 says, talks about the woman of valor is a crown to her husband. But we can see in Proverbs 14:24 that the crown of the wise is their wisdom. So do you want your man to treat you like a woman of valor? Then you need to use your wisdom and be on guard to protect your marriage from the little foxes that want to destroy him, your relationship, your ministry, and your family. And that needs discernment. And we only get that discernment when we spend time with Father. And that is, the more we spend time with Father, the wiser we get, the more sensitive we get in the spirit to be able to discern things, and for Father to warn us of things. And that is what a husband wants to depend on us with, so that we are supposed to be that sensitive one, the one that will be able to warn him only if it's necessary. Songs of Solomon 2:15 is what was quoted there. The catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vines, and our vines are all a blossom. So I want you to really ask Father to make you more sensitive to things around you. Pray for your marriage. Pray for Father to show you where there are things that are getting to the hidden things that are coming in that are destroying your marriage, that are busy eating up at the roots of the foundation of your relationship with your husband. And even with Abba Father, there are things that we allow into our lives that affect our relationship with Abba Father. So if we read Proverbs 14:1, I'll get it for you now. It says there, a wise woman builds her house, a foolish one tears it down with her own hands. So you see, we as women are the ones that are responsible for really being spiritually sensitive. Our husbands go out and they provide. Yes, they are supposed to be the head of the house. Yes, they are supposed to be spiritually strong for us. But Father has put it on us to really be aware. We are the ones that are supposed to be quietly fighting in the background. We are supposed to be quietly doing the spiritual warfare for our children, for our husbands, petitioning for our finances, for our health, for all those type of things. That is how we build up our houses. That is how we turn our houses into a home, because we are then spiritually becoming more stronger, because we're finding our strength from Father, and we're not trying to find our identity in our husbands or our children, but in Abba Father ourselves. And when we do that, we actually become more confident. I'm just going to read to you from page 34, which Robin wrote here. She says here, our divine bridegroom has provided everything we need to build a house that can infuse those around us with love. He invites us to create a garden. But it is up to us whether our garden is a beautiful and fruitful place to live, both for ourselves and for others. It must be carefully tended. After years of emotional thrashing about, I've begun to realize that I am commanded to love as God loves, without worrying about self-preservation. When I erect walls of self-protection and hide from those around me, I build walls around myself, and what I intend to be a fortress for protection becomes a prison of isolation. The anger and loneliness I experience as a result is ironic, because the lock on the door of that prison is the inside, and the keys is in my mind. Does this mean I should remove all appropriate boundaries for relationships and friendships? Absolutely not. It means I love wisely without placing expectations upon others to make me happy. Drink deep and full of the love of Jehovah, and you will not demand the impossible from earth's loves. And the love of wife and child, of husband and friend, will grow holier and healthier and simpler and grandeur. So you see, it's important for us to find our confidence and stability in Abba Father. And when we do that, we are going to actually become more valuable to our husbands. We are going to be able to give something to our husband. That is when we can go into a relationship and be 50-50. And actually that is such a, now that I just say it, I remember that it's such a wrong term where they say that you're supposed to be 50-50. You're supposed to give 100%, and your husband's supposed to give 100%. And there are days where you're going to be weaker, where he will step in that extra gap. And there are days where he's going to be weaker, where you're going to step into that extra gap. And that's how you're going to build one another up and carry one another. And we can only do that when we are secure in who we are in Abba Father. So these are questions that I want you to ponder on. Can your husband trust in you? Do you work as a team with the finances? And are you a good steward? There are so many women who their husbands work really, really hard, and they spend their money to go and get Botox, have their nails done, have their hair done. And I'm not saying don't go and do those things, but what is your heart behind it? Is that your main focus? Can you go a month or two without having your nails done? If you are adamant that even when the finances are low, that you would make your beauty routine a priority above something for the household, then that means that your priorities are wrong. And I think it's very important that we also realize that when we come into a marriage, finances is a joint thing. Sometimes we've got wives who go out and they earn more than their husbands. It doesn't mean that that is your money. And there are times where we are, and I personally believe that when you've got children, you should be at home. But that is something that you and father and your husband need to discuss yourselves. But my personal belief is that a wife should be raising her children, not other people. And so that is when the husband goes out, those finances, he needs to trust you with those finances, that you're not going to squander it, that his hard work is that you're working as a team with the finances, and that you've got the same goals. Do you keep your husband's secrets safe? Do you keep his weaknesses safe, or do you make fun of him or remind him of his weaknesses? Remember, the same way as he's got weaknesses, we've got weaknesses. And many times we have expectancies of our husbands. We expect them to fit into our little box. And we can get very critical of our husbands. And we've got to be so careful with that, because that is little foxes as well. Do you bless your husband and build him up, anoint him and cover him with prayer? And that is something on a daily basis that you need to do. And you cannot be angry with your husband and pray for him. That's a very good test. If you can actually stand in the gap and do warfare for your husband and pray for him, for his workplace, for the things that are bothering you, and him not packing the dishwasher the way you want to is not an issue. That is your issue. That is not a marital issue. But some women become so hyper-focused on little petty things that is the little foxes that are busy destroying your relationship, the intimacy in your relationship. Do your words and actions line up? Do you talk behind your husband's back? I've seen so many, and this is believing women who get together and they have I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it. It's a bitch fest about their husbands. And all that they will do is, it's like this, it becomes this competition of saying which husband is worse, how bad their husbands are, how useless they are, how lazy they are, or, and they'll just go on, and it becomes this big discussion of, and belittling their husbands and making jokes and laughing about it, and that is words spoken. That is in the spirit realm that you have spoken, and that is the little foxes that are going to be destroying your marriage. You're giving the enemy then tools and a foothold into your marriage. And then years down the line, you can't understand why your husband's heart is hard towards you, or why you struggle to even get intimate with your husband. But it's because of that words that you have already spoken. Do your words and your actions line up? Do you talk behind your husband's back, that I've already said, with your in-laws or with your family? Remember, when you speak to your parents about your husband, when you've had a fight, your mother or your father, they remember that. They will always want to protect you. They will always want to have your back. Then you and your husband make up, but they haven't made up with your husband, if that makes sense, with making peace. So they don't know that you've made peace, and it builds up that bitterness on their side towards your spouse. That's why you've got to be very careful who you are speaking to. I'm not saying don't confide in someone, but find someone who's spiritually mature enough that's going to give you wise counsel and pray with you. Not someone that is going to encourage you to keep talking bad about your husband, but let you vent and say, okay, that's enough now. Let us pray. How are we going to pray again against the attack on your husband or attack on your marriage? How are we going to handle this in prayer? So you need to be wise in that sense. That is being the crown on your husband's head. You need to be wise and find someone that you can do spiritual warfare for your marriage and for your husband. Do you make an effort for your relationship? I see so many couples who get children and then they focus so much on their children that they forget to invest in their marriage. They forget to invest in their husbands. And that takes effort. Yes, you'll be tired with a crying baby, with running after kids, cleaning the house, doing the ironing, making food, and all the things that go with being a stay-at-home mom, raising children. It is not easy. It is exhausting. But you've got to make an effort of, even if it's just a little text message you send your husband, even an encouraging passage, make that effort with your husband to make him still feel special. If you can't sit back and wait for him to give, you've got to give and he will follow suit. So another thing that I want you to focus on for those who don't have husbands, and we've got our earthly husbands and we've got Abba Father, we are preparing to become the bride of Yeshua. And so we've got to also take this Proverbs 31 in our relationship with our Heavenly Father, with our bridegroom that's going to be coming back, Yeshua. So have you made your heart a safe place for Abba Father to share his secrets with you? You can go and read Proverbs 3:23. Do you act as a queen of the Most High? Have you ever acted in a way that has hurt Abba Father's heart? And can Abba Father trust you? Are you faithful with what God has trusted you with? If you go and read Isaiah 66:2, it says, "And all these my hand have made, and all these that exist, declares Jehovah. Yet to such a one I look, on him who is poor and bruised of spirit, and who trembles at my word." Do you tremble at Abba Father's word? Do you have a reverent fear of him, to respect him, and to do as what he wants you to do? There are many times that we, as we are growing in our faith, that we tick the boxes. We will go to Shabbat, we will do the feast, we just tick the boxes. We'll do our little quiet time quickly, but we don't have a heart sold out to Abba Father. And I think that is something that each one needs to do. We need to make sure that we are doing what pleases Father, because he looks at the heart, the intent of the heart. You can be as modestly dressed, you can cover your head, you can not say a swear word, you can present yourself as this holy person in front of the congregation, go to every Shabbat meeting, raise your hands, do the worship, but have no intimate relationship with Abba Father. And never go a day without hearing Father's voice. And that is what hurts Father's heart, is where you're just going through the motions. The word says that the righteous will inherit the earth. So what is righteousness? We cannot know what pleases Abba Father and what hurts his heart if we do not even know what righteousness is. So I want you to go and read up 1 John 3 verse 7 and 10, and 2 Timothy 3 verse 16. Go and read that and go and study what Father says is righteousness. Because it's only when you understand that you are not going to hurt his heart. I want you to also make a note of this. Deuteronomy 10:12-13 tells you what Father requires from you. This is what Father wants from you, for you to not hurt his heart, for you to walk before him, and for him to be able to have an intimate relationship with you. It says, "And now, Israel, what is Jehovah your Elohim asking of you?" This is what he's asking of you. To fear Jehovah your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve Jehovah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your being, and to guard the commands of Jehovah and his laws, which I command you today for your good. So you see, it's that the whole heart. It's not that you're going to have your husband above Abba Father. It's not that you're going to have your children above Abba Father. It's not that you're going to have your mother or father above Abba Father. It's with your whole heart that you're going to serve him. And from that, you're going to be able to love your husband. From that, you're going to be able to guard and be a crown for your husband. That you're going to be able to, keep the foxes away from your relationship. And it's with your whole being. That is everything that you're doing. If you're washing the dishes, if you're raising the children, if you're going to do groceries, everything that you're doing to glorify Abba Father. Even if your husband doesn't see it, even if your husband doesn't appreciate it, you're doing it not to glorify him, not to get acknowledgement from him, but for Abba Father. Because that is what Father wants from you as a woman of the home. So, to sum up, the woman of virtue or valor so far, we see that the woman has strength of mind and spirit that will enable you to encounter danger with wisdom, courage, and strength. It's a woman whose husband will be confident in his covenantal relationship, as she's a righteous and spiritually strong woman. I see a lot of women who hold back their spiritual growth because their husbands aren't on the same path. I made that mistake as well, where you see your husband is lagging behind or not as committed as you, and we tend to get lazy. My husband's not standing up to do quiet time. I'll just snuggle in a little bit longer with him, or you don't put in as much effort because you see your husband isn't, and that is hurting Father's heart. And he is our most important husband that we need to be pleasing. And if we get that right, then our marriages are going to be happier and stronger. So a woman of virtue, her husband will never have a need for anything, as he will get his love, upliftment, care, and spiritual support and more. So he will never have to look to fill his desires elsewhere. He won't have to get booty anywhere else. He won't have to go and get his love and affection or someone to listen to him at the workplace. He won't have to go to the gym to go and get acknowledgement from other people. He won't have to go to the pub with his mates to be heard, to have a laugh, to have a good time. Because he will feel that from his wife. So it might feel like it's burdensome, but if you have your focus right, if you have your focus on Abba Father, if you have your focus on getting your personal identity through Abba Father, through your quiet time with him, then all of these other things are going to fall into place and be so much easier. You're not going to. And I think we all fall into that whole thing. We grew up in the old days before we got the wisdom of what Disney is. We grew up with that whole fairy tale of the princess, living happily ever after, and a husband who will bring her flowers and be this Prince Charming. That isn't the reality. And many times we get so disillusioned because of that. And I think it's so important that when we spend that time with Father, when we get our identity and our love, our cup filled by Abba Father first, our quiet time with him, we are going to be of more value to our husband, because we're not going to be so needy. We're not going to be so sensitive and feel less valued when our husband doesn't bring us flowers, when our husband doesn't treat us like what we see on TV and all these love movies. So I really want you to consider this week on asking Father where it is that you're lacking. Where are you lacking that you are seeking love through other things? You are seeking attention through other things. attention through, making yourself look good, spending time with your friends and instead of your husband, consoling in your friends instead of your husband, in your parents even. Some women have such a good relationship with their parents that it actually interferes in their marriage, because we need to go and find that with Father. So I look forward to hearing from you on how you are going to improve your relationship with Father this coming week, and how that is going to overflow in your relationship with your husband. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you for verse 12. Shalom.